Hey everyone, good evening. It's Monday, it's 7 p.m. in South Africa, which means it's project live stream time with the Expedition Project. Send us a quick hello to say if you're out there, or just tell us where in the world or where in South Africa you're watching this from. If you're watching this on replay, thank you as well. Please feel free to also send us a message into the comments. For those of you that are new to the Expedition Project, my name's Roger. I'm the proud founder of the project that's now fast approaching its 10th year in driving change in conservation and community development. Wow, there's so much happening in South Africa right now. Things from court appeals against rhino poaching in Grahamstown in the Eastern Cape, right up to travel restrictions finally being lifted, and South Africa going down to level 2. The Expedition Project has also just launched several online courses, which is sharing topics from everything from the UN global goals to endangered species to wildlife veterinary medicine. Please support these courses. Go and check them out on our website. Send us your feedback. And just obviously a reminder that these courses are made in collaboration with some of the fantastic projects that we work with. So rather than just asking for donations or asking for handouts, we're providing some amazing content that you can buy, and in return, you're getting something that you can learn from. But back to tonight, I'm really looking forward to speaking to tonight's guest, who's going to be joining us for the second time, Lisa from Funda Nenja. For those of you that are new to Funda Nenja's work, let's take a quick look.
At our very first lesson in July 2009, we had 12 kids and 12 dogs arrive. Within 6 weeks, it had grown to 60. And that's when we realized that we were onto something. And today we average 80 to 100 children every Friday afternoon. Over the course of a year, we probably are seeing about 270 kids into the program.
So with that quick intro, we welcome back Lisa. Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Hi, Roger. Well, thanks, and yourself?
Good. So good to have you back. So it's been a little while since we last spoke, and for those of you that missed out on the last live stream that Lisa and I did, go back and check it out. Lisa did a fantastic presentation, just going through some of the history and some of the present bits that Funda Nenja is working on at the moment. But back to tonight, looking forward to having a bit of a catch up. Just a reminder once again to those of you that just signed in, you can send comments through, ask some questions so that Lisa and I can answer them live on the air. But please, as a starting point, just sort of say hello, just tell us you're out there, tell us where you're watching this from. That would be great. So Lisa, just to start us off, I guess it's been about a month and a half or so since we last spoke. And when we last spoke, you were speaking about the troubles with lockdown and also some of the fundraising that you were doing towards a new vehicle. Do you want to start us off by giving us a bit of an update?
Yeah, look, the vehicle was, there was a hell of a lot of excitement about our vehicle. It's something we've wanted for a very long time, and we haven't had the funding for it, and we haven't found the right vehicle. And yeah, suddenly it all just sort of came together really, really well, and the perfect vehicle came along and we were able to purchase it. And we've had some wonderful branding put on it, so it's really looking amazing. So we're super excited and very, very proud of our vehicle. And it's made our life so much easier because it is a 4x4 vehicle, which has allowed us to reach a lot more of the more rural families up at the top of the mountain. So, those roads are not tar roads and they're not maintained. So, with rainwater and whatnot corroding, they don't get serviced. So some of those roads are a bit treacherous and certainly not accessible with a normal vehicle. So we are really, really excited. It means that we can reach more people much easier.
That's incredible. And I love the look of the vehicle, the style of it. It looks super rugged.
Yeah, it is. It's really rugged. It's a lovely vehicle. I'm very pleased with it.
Oh, so good. Such good news. And since we last spoke, so the last time we spoke, it was obviously right in the middle of lockdown. Things were a bit tough, but you were still going ahead with your sessions on Fridays. And how are things looking now?
Yeah, look, we haven't been able to do the full sessions on Fridays. We do still go out on Fridays. We have a sort of a skeleton staff. But the actual dog school itself, we haven't been able to hold because we're not allowed to hold groups of more than 50 people at a time. And our dogs, almost 100 children that gather on a Friday. So we've had to put a stop to the actual dog school itself, but we've still managed to run other aspects of the program. So, for instance, our Friday afternoon veterinary clinic, we were running that on a weekly basis. We've now changed it to a monthly basis, just to make it a lot more efficient. We were finding, a few people sort of trickling in for veterinary stuff, and there was nothing particularly urgent. So we said, look, let's hold a monthly clinic. It just saves our whole vet team from going out on a weekly basis for sort of 5 or 10 dogs. The last one we held, we had about 30 dogs that arrived, so it was a lot more worthwhile for everybody. And we've been very grateful and thankful that we haven't seen, we've hardly seen any really sick or injured dogs. They've all been just coming in for vaccinations or deworming, that kind of thing. So that's been really good to know that there haven't been any major problems, during lockdown. So yeah, we've run the veterinary clinic, and then we still have what we call our little shop. So we sell collars and leads and dog blankets and bowls and dog food. And the community, aware that we're there on a Friday, and we've had a lot of them coming in on a Friday to purchase these items. They all sold at a minimal amount. The cost is kept very, very low, to make it easier for them to afford. And then we've carried on with our kennel sales. We have beautiful wooden kennels, dog houses made for the dogs, and we actually can't keep up with the orders. We charge 100 Rand for, if it's a Funda Nenja participant, they can buy a kennel for 100 Rand, which is an absolute bargain. And a non-Funda Nenja participant can buy them for 200 Rand. So the reason we do that is just so that we can give the Funda Nenja participants sort of first option, and they get a discount being a member. So yeah, the kennels have been very popular. And then we've also been able to continue with our sterilizations. So we've tried to do at least 6 to 8 dogs a month. We did put it on hold in July just because the COVID numbers were peaking. And, the vet team, everybody was sort of just being a little more cautious and aware of what the situation was. So we held back, but we've got another one planned for this coming Saturday. And so far, I think we've got 18 or 20 dogs booked in for Saturday's sterilization clinic. So we're managing to catch up with the numbers nicely. And they all get vaccinated as well.
Sorry, go on.
No, carry on.
I was just going to, just for people unaware of how much 100 South African Rand is, that's £5. So it's an absolute bargain for those kennels. Sorry, go on, Lisa.
It really is, yeah. So yeah, we're very keen to get back into the sterilization and pick up the numbers again, because it's something that we need to keep on top of. We're trying to eliminate as many unwanted litters of puppies in the township as possible. So that's been great. And then we've kind of just continued doing the food parcels for the families that are destitute. A lot of people did lose their jobs during lockdown. Some of them have gone back to work. Some of them have gone back to work with short pay. Some of them haven't gone back to work at all. And there are families who are struggling. And if they're not able to feed themselves and put food on the table for themselves, then they're certainly not going to be able to feed their dogs. So we've been handing out dog food as well with the food parcels, and masks. You can actually see that lady holding a handful of masks. Their whole family got face masks, and a flyer on COVID, just explaining it, and what precautions to take to keep them safe. Because there hasn't been very much publicity in the township itself, regarding COVID. So we've tried to do our bit and educate further as well. And social distancing and mask wearing and sanitizing, the basic stuff. So that was all on the flyer that was in the food packs. And we did hygiene packs as well, just sort of general toiletries, soaps and toothbrushes and face cloths and scrubbing brushes and disinfectants and stuff like that. So just to try and encourage better hygiene. So we sort of called them in groups of 20 or 30, so we didn't go over our 50 limit. We weren't allowed gatherings of over 50, and we'd hand them out on different days. And that's been very well received, and people have been extremely grateful for the food parcels that we've managed to hand out.
That's amazing. So Debbie's just asked to see the vehicle again, and I think 100%. Let's have a look at that because it's such a fantastic vehicle. Let me get it for Debbie. There we go.
Yeah, we just had a lovely photo you showed of it as well. Has that one? Yeah, it's got that lovely lockable box. We just had that and fitted on Sunday. It's made from aluminium. It's got a lovely strong metal frame that's waterproof, so we can lock things in, because we often leave the vehicle, and walk to somebody's house, for instance, and we can't leave things unattended on the back. So that little box is going to come in very handy for locking up some valuables.
That's amazing. So I'm just going to show another video now, just to give a little bit more insight into what it is that you actually do when classes and sessions are running, and then maybe you could go into a little more detail after that about exactly what a typical kind of session is and how you actually go about sort of training the dogs. That'd be great. But first, let's just have a quick look at this video. Oh, that's amazing. So, Lisa, could you tell me a little bit more about, sort of, first of all, quite interested to know about the vet clinics, because that's what you're doing right now, obviously more so, I guess, than too many of the actual sessions. And then after that, a little bit about like what a typical session would look like, and how you go about getting the dogs up to I guess, a standard where it's really going to be beneficial for the dog and the child.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So the vet clinic basically is run by volunteer vets, and we've got an animal health technician, and we basically just do inoculations, tick and flea controls, deworming, and then attend to any minor medical issues. So skin irritations, or if a dog's got a cut or a graze, anything that can be treated, by our hands-on team there. if we have anything that is slightly more severe, so if a dog is particularly ill, or if it's got a suspected broken leg or a wound that needs antibiotics and further treatment and needs to be hospitalized, then we work with the Howick Small Animal Clinic, which is a veterinary clinic just here in Howick. And they've been fantastic. They give us a really, really, really reduced rate. And they will keep the dogs for as long as need be. They don't even charge us for, staying overnight, that kind of thing. They've pulled parvo pups through. We've had a lot of pups with biliary that we've never lost a dog to biliary, knock on wood. Those pups really, they seem really tough. I mean, my dogs are probably much more ill if they got biliary than some of these pups. They're really tough. But these guys have been really fantastic. So we're very grateful for the support that we've got from them. And of course, from our volunteer vets that are there on Fridays to help us. They're giving of their time to help the community's dogs, which we're incredibly grateful for. So yeah, that's the veterinary clinic, and they do rabies. Look, we've been doing rabies for many years, and rabies is pretty much in Mpopomeni Township itself. I won't say eradicated it because that's probably tempting fate a little bit, but we haven't had a rabies case in Mpopomeni for many years. So we've definitely got on top of the issue, whereas rabies in South Africa is critical at the moment. I mean, it's really a very serious situation in a lot of rural towns in South Africa, but we've managed to get it under control in Mpopomeni, which we're very pleased about. So yeah, the vets pretty much deal with the primary veterinary care and all the basic stuff. We often have little pups that come in that are probably a little bit too young and be taken away from their mothers a bit too young, but it's just the life of the township dog. Unfortunately, it's what happens. And we then, if they come to us for assistance, we send them home with a care package, which normally consists of a bag of puppy pellets and some tinned food, because a lot of the pups, their teeth are not strong enough to eat the hard pellets, so we give them some tinned dog food. Explain how the dog needs to be fed, that the small puppies need at least 3 meals a day, and that must be kept warm. And obviously now during winter we've been handing out doggy jerseys. We've had some amazing donations from people who's supplying doggy jerseys, and we're really grateful, because I think every single puppy that came in got sent home with a warm jersey and blankets. So we make sure that those pups go home with, it's just the basics to help them through. So the next couple of weeks at least. And then that vet clinic, when we have our full dog school, so when Funda Nenja is completely up and running again, those vet clinics take place every single Friday. So the vet team is there for any emergencies or any basic treatment that needs to be done. But the dog school itself, we have what we call our intake day, which is on the first Friday of every month. And the new kids and their dogs are allowed to join. They are given an information pack, which has got various flyers and pamphlets on looking after their dogs, what the dogs need, all the basic sort of animal welfare needs. And on that pack is an address form, which they have to complete and send back to us over the next week. And once they've returned their information, the address form, they're put onto our database, and they are then officially part of Funda Nenja's team. So we have probably between 20 and 30 kids that try and join every intake day. Not all of them end up bringing the forms back. Some of them lose them and have to come back and ask for another one. But yeah, those that do come back are normally pretty keen, and they ready to get stuck in and start learning. And they split into classes according to the age of the dog. So we'll have our pre-puppy class, which again is for those very young pups that can't really do any obedience training at 5-6 weeks old. So they get put into a little class where they literally just told how to look after their puppy, how to hold them, that puppies need to sleep, puppies need to have fresh water and food, and how to brush them, and how to carry them correctly and not pick them up by the legs. Really, really basic stuff that you and I would take for granted. But a lot of those kids, unless you point it out to them, they don't have a clue. So then we go into our puppy 1 and our puppy 2, and then adult 1, and it goes up right up to adult 7. And each class is taken by an instructor, excuse me, who is normally a youngster who's worked his way through the program. They're from Popomeni themselves, and they work their way up through the classes, and we've sort of identified them as, good handlers. They were either good with their own dogs, or we saw them helping other people with their dogs, and we train them up to be instructors themselves. So, and we also hold workshops for those instructors to help upskill them, and teach them how to be teachers, and how to take the class, how to sort out problem dogs and problem children. So those boys are very proud to be, sort of ahead of a class. And we try and keep the classes under 20 dogs, but sometimes the one particular class we've had to split into 2 because it gets really big. But yeah, the kids are all sort of put through their paces of the basic sits and downs and stay and come, and then they have all their tricks. They do rollovers, leopard crawl, shake hands, all that kind of thing. And it's all done with positive reinforcement. So there's no negative reinforcement. They're not allowed to smack the dogs. They're not allowed to kick them, hit them. No rough handing, no jerking of the chain, no discipline. So it instills in them that this positive reinforcement can be carried through their lives. It teaches them to treat other people with that much respect as well, so that they realize they don't have to use force to get what they want. It just changes the mindset into a more positive way of thinking. So we dish out little treat bags, which each child gets at the beginning of a training session. They use those treats to train the dog during the training session, and then when they leave to go home, they're also given a little bag of food to take home with them to supposedly do their homework and do more training in between. But I don't know how many of them actually do practice their homework, but that's the idea.
So you mentioned township dogs. So for international people, you're basically just referring to a stray dog that's within the community.
No,
is that
it's not a stray. No, it's not a stray. It is owned. The townships basically, it's just a sort of a rural township. How can I put it? Sort of a low cost. It's not really informal. It's more sort of a low cost. It's a little bit higher up than informal settlements. There are some informal dwellings in between for the very poor. They do live in a very sort of basic little shanty town, but the majority of them do have a decent sort of house. But when I say decent, it's probably 1 or 2 bedroom. It's tiny, but it is definitely low income. And some of them are pretty rural. As I said earlier, you've got to drive up the mountain to get to their homes. A lot of them don't have running water or electricity. So there's a lot of challenges that they have to deal with on a daily basis. And transport, a lot of them have no transport, so they walk everywhere they want to go, and then try and catch public transport when they get to an area where there is public transport.
And so is it a combination of matching up a child with a dog as well as a child that's coming in with their own dog as well? So it could be a stray dog and a child that's just come in without a dog that you sort of want to team up. Does that happen as well?
No, they all bring their own dogs. If they don't have a dog, they find one. They'll borrow a neighbor's dog or granny's dog. We've actually had a child who stole a neighbor's dog just so that he could come to Funda Nenja. And the angry neighbor arrived and said, "You can't just take my dog." And explained, you need to go and speak to your neighbor and ask him nicely. But yeah, the kids, they generally bring their own dogs from home. A lot of homes have at least 2 dogs. Not everybody just has one dog. So often you'll find a sibling will bring the other dog. So yeah, there's very few strays. In fact, I don't know when last we actually saw a stray in Popomeni. They're all owned by somebody, and they're all in really, really good condition. We very, very, very seldom see a dog that is in bad condition. And I do believe that is because of our presence in Popomeni for the last 10 years. The education that we've been sharing with the community is really paying off. I mean, we just see the number of people who come to us on a Friday afternoon to buy whatever they need for their dog. You know, they are going out of their way to come to us for those few hours in the afternoon and spend that money on their dogs when money is tight at the moment. So we're really pleased to see them putting in that effort and being responsible dog owners.
That it must be a definite direct result of what you've done, because growing up in Cape Town myself, you know, stray dogs is such a common sight. So, you know, huge congratulations to that. That's amazing. So Debbie, I know it's a difficult question to answer now, but sort of Catherine, sorry, wants to know when you hope to actually start your full classes up again.
We won't be able to start full classes anytime soon because, as I said, we have about 100 kids that are in the whole dog school. But we are possibly looking at the second week in September. We're starting off with just a few of the puppy classes because obviously the kids need more information and more education on the puppies. And we need to be able to keep a closer eye on the puppies and how they're doing. Whereas your older dogs, you know, they don't have all the medical issues and they don't have as many things that we need to keep an eye on. So, for instance, if somebody's bringing a puppy and it's not putting on weight like we would like to see it, we can educate and we can send more dog food home, that kind of thing. Whereas the older dogs are pretty standard and they look fine and they're doing all right. But also the kids that have joined, the last lot, I can't remember which month it was, would have been the beginning of March. We had our last intake. We did take new dogs in June, but they obviously couldn't come in and do anything. So we gave them the information pack and they brought back the address forms and now they're waiting to actually come back. So we will be phoning them and saying, right, in September, we'll keep the classes small. It's going to have to be sort of monitored for the first day, you know, just to see how many actually do arrive. And we'll have to have a cutoff because we're not allowed more than 50 at the moment. So, yeah, second week in September is what we're aiming at, and hopefully it can go ahead because we're really excited to get back into some training again. The kids are too. They keep asking us, when's Funda Nenja starting? Please, we're waiting. Our dogs need to come back to school. So we're keen.
I love the different intakes. It's basically like school or universities going back. It's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Indeed, yeah.
So Roz made a comment here, probably loads of puppies being born in the townships. Because of what you're doing, has that sort of dropped down a bit, I presume, now?
You know, it has. Obviously, I mean, we're doing a lot of sterilization, so yes, it has, but there are still a lot of puppies being born. But yes, the numbers have been cut down dramatically because of the sterilizations, and the SPCA also do a lot of sterilizations. We try and I won't say bribe, we use positive reinforcement and reward the children if they bring their dogs in for sterilization. So they get a toy of some sort. I mean, we normally give soccer balls or something like that and a bag of dog food. Or some sweets or something like that. So we encourage the children with some positive reinforcement that if they bring the dogs in, they'll get something for it. Yeah.
Geraldine says, just to make your day, says you're amazing.
Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. I just want to go back to this other photo I showed while you were speaking. I absolutely loved it. I saw it on your social media today. And I thought it was such a nice description, the image there that if anyone watching this sort of zooms in the screen, the different images showing, you know, when a dog is happy, hungry, sad, scared, those kind of things. I just thought it was such an amazing visual description, the way you've done it. Do you want to go into a little bit more detail about how these training sessions work and how you're sort of explaining things like this?
Yeah, what we do is on a normal situation, we would have the new intake kids on the second Friday. So they would come back with their dogs for their first training session. And then on the second Friday, they would come without their dogs. And we have a little workshop for them in one of the classrooms because we're based in one of the schools, the primary schools. And we use the classroom to give them sort of lessons on various topics. So we cover, you know, sort of the basic animal welfare needs that the dogs need at home, because these are kids who've just joined the program, so they need as much education as we can give them. And body language, understanding dogs' body language is one of the lessons. You know, if the child can understand when a dog is aggressive opposed to when a dog is frightened, or when a dog is happy, to prevent them from being bitten. So if they can read a dog's body language and see, oh, hang on, this dog is showing the whites of its eyes, its mouth's pulled back, its ears are back, it's looking tense or stressed, it could very well bite. And if they don't know how to read that, then, you know, the chance of them getting bitten is quite good. Whereas it can be avoided if they are taught how to read the dog's body language correctly. So that's Nomondi's busy in a class there. Nomondi's our animal welfare education officer. And she's in charge of giving those lessons.
That's amazing. So tell me, just a side sort of interesting question that I'd like to ask. Do you notice personality matchups with child and dog? Like if a child's quite an enthusiastic, outgoing child, the dog's much the same, or vice versa?
Often. Yes. We've got some kids who are troublemakers and their dogs are just as much troublemakers. We've got some kids that are soft and caring and gentle, and their dogs are just the same. They're sweet and gentle and happy dogs. So yeah, absolutely, we really do see that. We've seen some very typical character matches, definitely.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to everyone out there sort of listening, please send in your questions. We're gonna do another few minutes more with Lisa. So while we've got a chance with her sort of live on the air, please send us through any questions you've got about Funda Nenja, what their history is about, what's going on right now, what some of their future plans are, anything you want to know, feel free to ask away. So Lisa, now that you've got the vehicle that's sorted, I mean, obviously that's a big weight off, weight off your shoulders and everything. You can't fully run the classes, just how you would like them, but you're still doing the vet clinics and everything. So, things are still sort of ticking over. What would you say is next in the line for what you would really like right now that you've got the vehicle?
I think just to be able to reach more people out there in the community. At the moment we're doing home visits once a week, and the vehicle that we were using before, it was one of our staff vehicles, wasn't able to reach all the families, and also they had to park and then walk quite a long way because some of the roads they couldn't access with the vehicle. So we're hoping now with this vehicle that we can get, and it's already proven that they have been able to get to more homes in a day, and now we can get to the really rural ones who have even less than those that we're currently seeing. I spoke earlier about those that some of them don't have electricity and running water. So the basic requirements they are lacking, and we need to be able to get to those families and see what they need, because a lot of them are really living way below the bread line. So the need is great, and that's one of our hopes, is to be able to reach more people out there, and more dogs, obviously, and seeing the people we helping the dogs, and just also making them aware that we're there for help, that they can come to us if their dogs are sick, for instance, or need anything.
Definitely. So Sharon wants to know, is literature available to other organizations interested in using a model in other parts of the country? It's so funny. Lisa and I were just speaking about this before we went on air. So, but I'll let you answer, Lisa.
Yeah, Sharon, we are wanting to hold a workshop. Before lockdown, we were actually starting to plan a 2-day workshop where we wanted to share all what we've learned and what's worked and what hasn't worked, and how to start similar organizations throughout the country, because we know South Africa has many areas like Mpopomeni where it's definitely needed. So that was our plan. We were going to do a Friday and a Saturday where people would register for the workshop. They would come through and watch a Friday afternoon training session in action and see exactly for themselves, get to experience what it's all about. And then on the Saturday, it would be a PowerPoint presentation with questions and answers and guest speakers and that kind of thing. But of course, with lockdown, that hasn't been possible. And we're looking at doing something online going forward, and then possibly also doing something next year. We plan to do it in the winter months because we don't have any rain. Because unfortunately, if we do have rain, we get completely rained out because we don't have shelter to train under with 100 kids. So it's probably safest to plan it for the winter months. So possibly looking at end of May or June next year. But yeah, the online thing is still a possibility as well. But we haven't finalized anything. It's still in the pipelines, and we're still talking about it. And as Roger said, we were just chatting earlier about doing something. So yeah, we do have literature to share, but we would prefer to do it in a sort of a workshop environment rather than just dishing it out here and there. Because it's not just a case of handing out literature. There's a lot behind the literature. There's a lot of how did we come to develop this, and why, and what worked and what didn't work. It's not just that easy to just put it on a piece of paper in black and white and say, well, this is how you do it. There's a lot of discussion to be had.
And presumably, and such a great question, Sharon, thank you for sending it in. Presumably, there are some things that are, it's a matter of it'll work and it won't work. But then there's also going to be things, I would imagine, that are going to be community to community dependent. And I mean, if you were to start the exact same model you've got somewhere else in South Africa, it might work very differently, I presume. Would you think so?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think also for us, the language barrier is a problem because we're not all fluent in isiZulu. But for instance, down in the Cape, most of the locals in Cape Town speak Afrikaans fluently. So, and everybody in Cape Town generally speaks Afrikaans. So, there's not so much of a language barrier in that part of the country, but up here, you've got to take that into account as well. You've also got to understand the different cultures. The cultures in Cape Town are different to KZN and that kind of thing. So you've got your Zulu people, you've got your Xhosas down in the Eastern Cape, you've got your Coloureds down in Cape Town. The cultures are all different, and you've got to understand that because they all treat and view animals differently in their different cultures. So that is definitely something that's got to be taken into account as well.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic question. Lisa, is there anything else you want to go through before we sort of sign off? Any other bits of information or anything else you want to send out to anyone?
Sure, I think we've covered quite a lot.
We've done really well.
But yeah, I think I would just like to thank anybody who does follow us on a regular basis. It's really wonderful when we post things on Facebook and we have such a lovely response and people who follow us religiously. And we try and keep our Facebook very active because even though we're not running full dog school at the moment, we do still have different areas that are functioning. So we try and keep everybody up to speed with what we're doing. And people who have supported us, with either donations or in monetary values or physical goods in kind, we really, really, really appreciate every single one of them. And a lot of people say, "Oh, but I haven't got a lot of money. I can't really give you very much." It all adds up. It really does. I mean, we did a thing the other day. I think we've got like 7,000 followers on Facebook. Could you imagine if each one of them just gave us 50 Rand? I mean, it does add up, and people must understand that. They always feel bad that they're only giving us 50 or 100 Rand, and we appreciate every last cent we get. We really do.
Absolutely. And I think, speaking from myself and organizations like Funda Nenja is just sharing the word is so valuable as well. These live streams that we do here, I mean, it's all about just sharing these inspiring stories and these messages. So don't think that even doing that is such a big thing. And if you have heard of this, a project like this via the Expedition Project, and you end up reaching out to Funda Nenja, just please tell them where you heard about it from, just so we know what promotions are working and where some of our sort of social media posts are working best. We'd love to know as well. And yeah, just keep telling anyone about any of these projects that we're talking about. That really does help so much as well. Lisa, I think the last question I want to ask is, do you have a favorite dog?
No. I've got a few. I know whenever I use a photo, somebody wants a photo, I do have a favorite photo. But there's so many dogs that I can't say I have a favorite. I think at the top of my list, possibly Max would be my favorite. He's a big white shaggy dog with a really sweet kid. But then there's also Lion, who's just a big shepherd mix, and he's just adorable. And then there's Cry, who's a lovely little cream female who just, when she sees you, she just jumps up and she literally wraps her front legs around you. She's so happy to see you. No, there's a lot. Yeah, it's hard to pick one, but those are probably some of the more favorites.
So Sharon just says, thank you so much for the response, and just reiterating that obviously education is so important. No, thank you so much, Sharon. Really, really nice to get you involved in that. So to everyone watching, thank you so much again. If you're watching this on replay, as I mentioned, please just feel free to still post some questions if you want, and obviously Lisa or myself or one of the Funda Nenja team will get back to you and answer if you do have a question. But thank you so much again. Lisa, it's been fantastic speaking to you as always, and looking forward to another catch up already in a few months and see how you're getting on, and keep sending us updates on how that vehicle's running. I hope it keeps keeps looking after you.
I hope so too. Yeah, thanks, Roger. That was super. It was lovely chatting with you too.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Thank you so much again. We will speak to you soon and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.